Action.
Hello, welcome to Thai Academy Sessions, and today we're going to have a brief discussion on how we're going to prepare the expenses account and revenue accounts, whereby we'll have adjustment of accruals and prepaids. So when you have adjustment of accruals and prepaids in a question, and you need to adjust the expenses and the revenue account in order to calculate the amount to be transported in the income statement, you may use the following method in order to prepare your expenses account and revenue. First, we'll have to write our word papa, whereby the P stands for prepaids and the A stands for accruals, and the P stands for prepaids and the A stands for accruals. So the first prepaids will be the prepaids for expenses, and the first accrual will be the accruals for expenses, and the last section will be prepaids for revenues, and here we'll have the accruals for revenues. So that's the first step after writing the papa. Then after there, we'll write our word ala, whereby the A stands for current assets while the L stands for current liability. Because prepaid expenses are current assets, they'll be reported in the statement of financial position as current assets, but the accrued expenses are current liabilities. That's why reported in the statement of financial position as current liability, but the prepaid revenue are liability and the accrued revenues are assets. So after there, at the top, we write debit side, while we have the credit side. So we'll start with the balance BD. The balance BD will be the alpha and it will be the omega. That means that utaweka mwanzoni utaweka na mwishoni. And at the middle, we'll just use the balance CD. On the credit side, you're going to record the opposite balance BD, the balance CD. Balance CD would be the balance BD, and the balance CD would also be the balance BD, and lastly, you have the balance CD. So, point to note is that accruals are also known as amount outstanding, or sometimes amount in arrears, or sometimes amount unpaid. So these are the synonyms which sound the same. So when somebody says accruals, it means that the amount that was stand in arrears or unpaid. But also the prepaids are also known as amount paid in advance. So when somebody says prepaid, it means that amount paid in advance. So this will be the formula which will enable you to prepare the adjustment of prepaid expenses, but also revenues and the accrued expenses and revenue. So the first step, I used the word papa, then the P stands for prepaid and A stands for accruals. Then I started the expenses, and at the middle I'm using the word ala, because sometimes in exam you may find that you cannot remember the name. So by using this format, you'll be able to prepare the expenses account and to calculate the amount to be transferred in the income statement. So by using this format, I will now prepare the expenses account and the revenue account by using this format which I have established here. So I will start preparing the expenses account. So the expenses account, it means that I'm going to use these two, the prepaid and the accrued expenses. So the balance BD of the prepaid expenses will be debited on the expenses account because they are assets. So we will start here with the balance BD. Balance BD for prepaids. And have your amount there. So this balance BD for prepaids will be shown on the debit side, but the balance BD for approved expenses will be shown on the credit side. So here we'll have the balance BD for accrued expenses. for accruals. So that's the first step. After writing the balance BDs, remember this is an expenses account. So when any cash is paid for, you should credit the cash account and you should debit the expenses account because it has a debit nature. So after crediting the cash account, the expenses account will be debited with the cash or bank. So any payment for expenses will be debited in the cash account, and after recording the cash or expenses which are paid, now I'm going to record the balance carried down at the end of the month. So we are going to debit the balance carried down for accrued expenses. So accrued expenses. So here we have the balance CD for accrued. And also we're going to credit the balance for prepaid. So here we have the balance CB for prepaids. So that is it. So after writing all my necessary information, remember that the expenses paid for will be credited in the cash account and we're going to name it in the expenses account. So after finally put all the necessary information, I'm going to balance off this account. So the debit side will be greater than the credit side. So the amount will be here, and the difference between the debit side and the credit side would be sent in the income statement, or sometimes known as profit or loss account. So that it is. So this amount here is the one which should be reported in the income statement at the expenses account. So for example, you have a rent account and you are given necessary adjustment, you'll just put the amount here for the prepaids and the accruals, and the difference between the debit side and the credit side will be sent to the income statement. So ukienda kufungua income statement yako, hii amount hapa nitaitransfer pale kama amount ya your expenses. So that is the expenses column. And lastly, now we are going to see the revenue account. So on the revenue, we are going to use this section here so as to record the revenues. So the balance BD for revenue, remember that revenues are the credit nature, so the balance BD for prepaid revenue are reported on the credit side as shown here in my format. So here we'll have the balance brought down for revenues, prepaids. And the balance brought down for accrued revenues will be reported on the debit side. So here we'll have the balance brought down for accrued. So that is the first step. And remember that when you receive revenue, it means that you are going to debit the cash account and we are going to credit the revenue account. So any payment for revenue or any cash received for revenue would be credited to the revenue. So here we'll have cash or back. So we are going to write it here. And after that, we are going to record the balance carried down at the end of the month. Hereby, we are going to debit the prepaid revenues. So here we have the balance carried down for prepaid revenue. And here also we're going to have the balance carried down for accruals. So after there, you're going to add up the debit and the credit side. So after adding here, the difference will be sent in the income statement. Or sometimes known as profit or loss account. So that's the format for the revenue account. So by using this format, nimeweza kutengeneza revenue and expenses account, and any questions relating to the calculation of the missing figure from this information you may find. Maana kuna maswali mengine unaweza ukapewa the amount to be transferred in the income statement, so unaambiwa labda utafute the balance sheet for the accruals, so utaziweka data zako zote and the difference utaipeleka kwenye balance sheet for accruals. And sometimes in some questions so lazima upewe information zote. For example, you may not be given the balance BD for accruals or the balance BD for prepaid, so if you are not given hautaziweka, you just add, you will just show the other informations ambayo utakuwa umepewa and the difference utapeleka kwenye income statement as profit, in the income statement of profit and loss account. So that is the format, and I think through this format it will be able to calculate the missing figure for the accruals and the prepaids, revenues and expenses. So thank you and welcome to another session.